Alright guys, we are back at the Santa Queen project and we're gonna do a little bit of time-lapse videos. We don't have much time-lapse of the beginning of the project, so we're gonna start right about here. Now stay tuned for the final walkthrough that we're gonna do at the end of the video, and I'll explain more details about the process on this project. Now you can see here that we're working mainly on the wall, and we had to do that in sections. So first we had to do half or so of the wall, then stop, and then do here this side area of chat or hardpack, most people know it or call it that way, and the other half of the road base for the concrete area. Now this is mostly gonna be compaction level, keep adding more blocks for the retaining wall. And you can see us here doing the other half, or probably like 3/4 at this point of the wall. And the turn especially gets a little tricky. I'll explain a little bit later about the turns. And we keep doing there we go, the rest of the wall you can see in the bag. And the guys are lining up the caps. Now we do measure everything when it comes to materials and caps, but the guys keep presenting the caps, so just to make sure that we don't run short on caps. Now right now the guys are working on the steps right there. There we go, on the steps of the stairs for the first section, and working their way out. Now the turn is typically the most complicated parts, and then when it comes to straight, it's just gluing the caps. Nice and easy. There we go, they're finishing the turn, and then they go straight. Now here in the turns, we asked the customer if it would be okay if we cut the blocks in half, so we can make more like a smooth transition, or the turns on the retaining wall. If we keep them straight, they're 18 inches long, so trying to make a nice and smooth turn, it gets a little tricky. So we cut them in half. The back of the block, it's in an angle, so you can turn easily, and it looks way better. I mean, on the perspective, on the looks, it doesn't look bad, or it doesn't look weird, so we just cut in half, and a nice transition. Now we are working on the way out, but not just that, it's actually the sprinklers. We are going to install the section of grass that wasn't there before. We are adding more grass, so more sprinklers, so the grass doesn't die, of course. So right now it's just pipes installation, doing the final for the sprinkle heads here and there. Nothing too much going on. Let's see. Oh, now for that section right there between the old grass and the new grass, we had to remove some of the grass, and I believe I'll explain that in other videos. But anyways, it's just because it was in a hole, we remove that, well, the hole pretty much, and we put a new grass, even though it wasn't part of the proposal, but it was like $100 or $200, and we keep everyone happy, and of course we don't have to come back. Now we have everything done when it comes to the wall, so now we're gonna focus on what's actually forms for the concrete, so we can keep the chat area and the concrete separate. And now the rebar for the bag, we do 2x2 on the center for the bag, and I believe we did 1x1 in the front. We'll double check. But rebar, that's like, we really pride ourselves on adding a lot of rebar. Now we wanted to do the front yard on the last part, just because you can see is the access of the garage or the car. So if we did everything at once on the demo and the concrete, we will be blocking the customer for a lot of days. So we rather do that at the end. We remove the entrance, so the path on the entrance, also the driveway. We are really careful on the edges by the house with a little jackhammer. And the big jackhammer for the skid steer is going to do the majority of the work. Now this old driveway didn't have any rebar, so it was super easy to remove it, but that also means I had a lot of cracks. That's why we are removing it, because I mean, it was poorly done. Once everything's out, we're working on the retaining walls for the front, so we can keep, you know, the existing areas elevated. Nice. Here the guys are working on the turns, making sure that with a PVC pipe, it's gonna be a nice transition turn. And we always, just so you know, for every retaining wall that we do a lot of drainage, so at least a foot wide of gravel all the way down, with drainage pipe at the bottom, so we can grab all the excess of water, and then drain it where we can control the water. Now we also had some retaining walls on the side of the house. At the beginning, we had a huge tree or bush. I don't know what it was, but we removed that out of the way, and we are adding now the retaining wall. Now, the guys are working on the prep or level of the area for the driveway, and we had to remove, I would say like a big amount of dirt, just because it didn't have any base. The old concrete, I mean, of course, didn't have any rebar, but also really poor gravel, and so that's why we are removing the excess dirt so we can add the road base. Now here the guys are removing, there you go, concrete that we were not supposed to remove in the beginning, but we convinced the customer to remove that section so it looks nice and straight. And it was also difficult on the levels. We will have a huge puddle between the new and the old concrete, so we removed that section so we can have more concrete, and it will look way better, to have straight section of new concrete. Now the path compared to the original one, it's wider now, so they have more room to walk. And the customer kept complaining that it was a pain in the butt to do the snow removal with the concrete that they had. I mean, of course, it was super damaged, but also for the space that had before. So now we are making a bigger sidewalk towards the entrance, and then rebar. So rebar on every single concrete that we do. I mean, we don't even offer the options of no rebar. So in the front, we compacted a lot. Even with the jumping jack, we compacted more 10 feet out from the driveway, just because it is known that area kind of sinks a little bit more. That happens more for new houses than old houses, just because of when they dig the foundation, they don't compact enough. But anyways, either way we compacted it. We don't want to come back for not compacting it enough. Anyways, yes, compact, that's a big deal with us. So now the sprinkles are covered. We're working on the heads of the sprinkles, or the sprayers, I don't know, whatever you call them. And that's the last thing that we do before we do the grass. So right now on the grass, we're wrapping things up, and I'll show you more on the walkthrough here in a little bit about how things turn out. It looks really, really good, guys. Alrighty, now let's take you to the property. We're gonna do a little walkthrough after finalizing with the project. So in the front, brand new concrete. It looked like crap before. So it had a lot of cracks here and there, new retaining wall in the front, and we fixed the grass. The customer would have replaced everything, but he really liked the grass with weeds. So we're just gonna follow on the back. We had to build this little small retaining wall here on the side. We adjusted to the fence as well. We created a few cuts here in the corner, and this concrete is also new. Now I really hate trying to go between new concrete and old concrete, because over here a puddle it's gonna create, and the customer knows that, but he didn't want to keep cutting or going that way. So it is what it is for this one. And we have a chat path. Now it recently rained this morning, so that's how it has like the look-ish wet look. But you can see how it's kind of compacted. A lot of people call it like the crushed stone, crushed rock. Here in Utah we call it chat, or we also, some providers might have it as hard pack. So if you're in the market in Utah looking for something like this, hard pack, chat, you're gonna find either way same thing. And we got the flagstone patio. The customer really wanted to have this color. I wanted to match it with the gray colors, just like the rest of the environment. But he was like, nah, no, I just do this sunrise color. We try to keep everything native. So we already had a lot of the trees already in here, but we added more bushes, trees that were also native to Utah. And that's one of the things that you don't see very common nowadays. People really want to go with a lot of colors, and sometimes that's just not native, but that's totally fine. Different taste and different, you know, way of thinking. All this is new concrete. So between the concrete in the front and the back, we pour everything at the same time so we can save a little bit of cost on the pump. Now, we have also some drainage situation that we had to deal with. The property, you know, we had to make sure that it's away from the house, the water, and we didn't have a way of actually draining it to the sides because this area is super low. So we installed these channel drains in here, and everything is draining in a self-drainage pit. So a huge hole in the ground. I can't remember where it is though, but it's a huge hole in the ground, 6 by 6 and 6 feet deep, full of gravel. So the water naturally drains in that pit. So that's one of the solutions. When we don't have a way of draining the water, that's what we do. So this wall goes all the way back there, 2 different access points with stairs. This eventually is gonna be some gardening area. So the lower section and the higher section, we have the hose bib connection so the customer can connect and, you know, irrigate any plants that he's eventually wanting to do in the future in this area. And back there we got some fruit trees. That was really cool that he already had some fruit trees, but they were old and he wanted to still have, you know, the ability to go and pick some fruit whenever he wants in the season. So we removed the old, we put the new one in. A little bit of grass in this area, but we kept the big area being there with the old grass with some of the weeds. He likes weeds. So that's pretty much it for the backyard. Let me walk you through the front. There's concrete with rebar. We typically do 2x2s on the center for the rebar, but on this one, the customer really wanted to park heavy stuff, probably. So we did a 1x1, so 12 inches by 12 inches in the center so it can be more reinforced. Now, after this point over, it's not super reinforced, just a normal 2x2s all the way to the entrance. So at some point when we were pouring the concrete that day, the customer was locked in. He couldn't go out the entire day because the back was recently poured, the front was recently poured, garage, the front was also recently poured. Everything was pretty much blocked for the customer. So the grass here stay, we just fix on the side, the little bit of concrete, plants in the front, rocks. We demoed all the rocks, all the bushes in the front, all the way across, and we put new. So that's about it for the front. It was just redoing what the customer already had because it definitely looked like old style and cracked and not well maintained. So now he can keep up with the property. So that's about it. Even though it might sound a little crazy, all this re-demo or reinstallation work was $106,000 for this project. It's definitely not like crazy when it comes to what you can see versus the actual dollar amount, but it's definitely a lot of work on taking things out and then putting it in properly. So that's it for now. If you keep liking this video, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and we'll see you on the next one.